back on the Football Outside the Box podcast where we talk the past, present, and future of football. We are almost at the last game week of the Premier League season. Guys, what you thought of the game yesterday? Look like City have all but sealed the title.
I wonder what Noah thinks about it. It was so. I mean, to me, it was so funny because everything was shaping up according to Arsenal's favor, in my view. The way that Foden missed that goal in the first half, Alvicario was able to stop him, and then, bro, Spurs they created at least four clear cut chances, two with Kulusevski, two with Son. So I was very impressed not to see Spurs grabbing a point out of the match. And I wonder what you feel about it, Noah, because if you look at the match, if you analyze it objectively, you would say that Spurs actually deserve a point, at least.
Hi guys, good morning. First, I'd like to say, one talk, you need to talk some sense into your countryman because this guy missed an absolute stone cold sitter in front of the goal against City's backup keeper.
Tell me step by step what was going through your mind when you saw that chance and when you saw him miss that chance.
I was wondering the same thing.
The man gets first of all, before the game, I'm envisioning what chance could I realistically see happen in this game that could actually see a result happen in our favor. The only chance I'm thinking is Son streaking through in behind from a City mistake. What happens in the 85th minute of the match? Exactly when you want it to happen. Not enough time for City to come back. Well, not to say not enough, but you restrict the chances. This man, every other day of the week, I was talking about it yesterday. Every other day of the week, this guy is slotting that chance home. Round the keeper, clinical finishing to the bottom left. You pick the man. I mean, I don't think he did it on purpose. I don't. I really don't. But
I was worried that was going to be the prevailing sentiment.
He was actually believing that last night. I'm not impressed that he changed his mind.
no, I obviously don't think he actually did it on purpose. But when you look at all things considered, like, come on, this guy, you're expecting a goal, right? I mean, you all tell me, are you guys not thinking us going in?
I mean, the crazy thing is that I said it when it happened. I was like, wow, if there is one man that Tottenham Hotspur would have wanted on the end of a chance like that of a City mistake, is that man.
Nah, in my opinion, it wouldn't be Son. It would be Harry Kane. He would be the man. He wouldn't miss that chance.
Yeah, Harry Kane is true. But you know what? I think shout out to Stefan Ortega, who did incredibly well. So, I don't think we can just put it down to, a mistake by Son. I think that the keeper did very well to make himself big. He came out and narrowed the angle really well. And he got a lot of praise for that, and I think rightly so. It's very interesting, by the way, that, I criticized heavily Cuti Romero. I think he's such a wild player, and he can be so dirty, when he's ready. And I think that's why a lot of people don't like him if they don't. And it was a little bit of poetic justice to me that it was his wildness that got Ederson subbed off at the end of the day. And that, I'm not sure if Ederson saves that. I think it was brilliant keeping.
Yeah, I actually, I think so, because Ederson has conceded those. I remember one against Salah too. Ortega's was actually given the man of the match. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. A keeper that was subbed on,
a sub keeper
being awarded, a sub keeper being awarded the man of the match. Ended up being 2-0, a comfortable victory. I mean, it looked comfortable, but it was far from that for City. I do want to ask about, I mean, I don't think we've ever been in a position as a fan where we're actually, somewhat hoping our team would lose for our rivals not to prosper. And I think the manager took it very badly. He's made some interesting comments, saying 99% of the fans online who would rather their team lose need counseling. I've seen a lot of negative feedback from Tottenham fans on that. How the last 40 after the match, he was saying how the last 48 hours it's been fragile in and out the club. I know none of us want to be in that position, but what did you think about those comments? Because to me, it's normal. You do not want your biggest rival, to win something that's meaningful. I would not want Liverpool to win the title. If it meant we had to lose and sacrifice our Champions League hopes, yeah, 100% taking that.
I agree 100% with Ange, to be honest, with Postecoglu. I'm completely in his corner on that. I'll let you guys go ahead first, though, because, I think it's
Nah,
just...
but you even said last week that Dortmund were in a position where you wanted them to lose or draw against
Yeah.
Liverpool because of that situation. So in reality, you don't think he's that. You don't necessarily
No,
agree.
I agree 100% with him. When I mentioned it last week, there was the caveat, of course, that it was looking very likely that Germany was going to get the fifth spot. And if Germany got the fifth spot, then a draw against Leverkusen would have been irrelevant. I didn't want them to beat us. I just wanted, if it would have meant that nothing else happened, like if it would have been irrelevant, I would have preferred that they kept their unbeaten streak going. But at the risk of us getting Champions League, I don't think I would have. And I agree with him. It's kind of a silly, it almost feels silly for a manager to engage with it, because I know that we can look at it and say, well, it's all banter and stuff like that. But there is an element of seriousness, I think, at least that we've seen on social media for a lot of the Spurs fans. I think he approached it correctly. He's right. Like, he's there to try and build a winning culture. He's trying to build a team that wins. When you look at how Arsenal fans talk about Tottenham, it's with such an air of irrelevancy, where Arsenal fans are almost loving it and eating up the fact that, yeah, man, Spurs, go and win us the title. Go and get it for us.
Well, then they are what list.
Arsenal fans don't really care at the end of the day. And I think Postecoglu is trying to put that kind of culture and mentality into his support base at Spurs. He's trying to say, bro, who cares about stopping Arsenal winning the title? We're trying to go for Champions League. At the end of the day, I think it's probably better for them in the long run that they didn't end up making Champions League just because of the level that they're at. But I think he's right. He's trying to build a winning club, and he wants the fans to see it like that, where that's their goal at the end of the day, is winning, not stopping Arsenal doing something. Forget about Arsenal.
Yeah, theoretically he's right. What manager is telling the players to go out and actively lose a match, right? That goes against everything a manager or the sport frankly stands for. But I just think he went a bit the fact that you want your team to lose so your biggest rivals don't win the title means you need counseling. I think that's a bit too far. That was just very unnecessary to me. I guess from a manager or a player's perspective, I get where he's coming from, but we're not managers, we're not players. From our perspective, I guess the question is, if you were in a situation, what would you rather happen? Would you rather win and keep your hopes faint, albeit alive, or rather lose and not have your biggest rivals win the biggest trophy in the country?
Maybe it's a little mean, the language was a little harsh. I would agree, maybe. But I think in addressing the fans, we all know he's not going to tell his players to lose. But in addressing the fans, I think he was right. At least if you care about your fans, get them on that train of being stop caring so much about Arsenal. Forget, if they win the league, forget about it. Focus on what we are trying to build. Focus on our progress and our future. Bragging rights are a real thing, but forget about it.
I think
that's what he was going for.
How he said it though is important. So you can look on what he's trying to do where that's concerned. But how you say it, right? We saw like in the past, Conte, him and the fans had that division as well, and that created an issue at the club, right? And so they're under threat for that again, where you can see the trend happening again, where Tottenham had a good spell at the beginning with the start of a manager, and then it falls off, and you kind of seeing that decline happen for him. Yet again, it's like a cycle. And to answer your question, I want to talk about what would you rather if you were the manager or a player as opposed to a fan? Even I saw a comment from William Gallas of our people, and he was saying that yes, the fans care because that's their culture, that's where they're from. But the players, they're not from North London. So they're not gonna have the same type of emotion and care towards the derby and towards Arsenal like that. But at the end of the day, like I said in the beginning, it's the connection and the chemistry between the team and the manager and the fans. That's crucial. And if you don't have that, he's gonna be gone soon.
Oh, it's funny you said, Christian, that Ainge is trying to impose or build a winning culture at Tottenham, and we know that's never going to happen, right? It's just impossible. I mean, I like the guy, but I feel like you gotta see it from both perspectives. Like one Sak was saying, there's the fan perspective and also the manager, the team's perspective. You can't disrespect the other. If you're a fan, you can't disrespect the manager's perspective and vice versa. So that's why I feel like it wasn't the smartest of moves from Ange to go against the fans, kind of like blaming them for their perspective on this. Me as a fan, if I was on their shoes right now, if I was a Tottenham fan, I would definitely want my team to lose. I would be cheering for City to win the match. I wouldn't want to give Arsenal a title. That's for sure. And I feel like him as a smart manager, he should be able to understand that. But I get that he's trying to build that winning culture, and a winning culture means that you're only gonna care about your team, right? Winning every possible match. You're not gonna care about a side like Arsenal, for example, who is kind of meaningless at this point.
They're also trying to get Champions League. Like
I mean, what are the odds, right? They were like 5 points away from Aston Villa. They have to win both matches, and Villa will have to lose both matches. I don't see that happening at all.
Well, if they won yesterday, it would have been good. They would have had a chance.
If they won yesterday, they would have still been in the race. But I mean, to move on from Tottenham, a club that neither is in the title race nor is any longer having any hopes of getting into the Champions League, and is just completely out of any other race for anything going into the final day of the season. We still have a race on the final day. Now, I think it's interesting that everybody is talking about the title race as though it is wrapped up. I mean, what does that say about the state of the English Premier League, bro? Like, City is so inevitable. I mean, I feel like we are at Farmers League status at the moment.
Hold on.
And
Bayer Leverkusen win the Bundesliga for the first time in 12 years, and now he thinks the Premier League is a Farmers League.
The Premier League has been a Farmers League for the last maybe 7-8 years, despite the status of the Bundesliga, which is yes, it is a Farmers League, but man, bro, City are the Bayern of the Premier League. They are, but better. They're so inevitable.
No, freeze. I need to understand because I need to understand what exactly people are describing as a Farmers League and why. Because what I'm understanding from people is that they're saying if a team repeatedly wins the league, that means it's a Farmers League, right? But from what I understand is a Farmers League should be that there's only one good team and the rest are shit.
This is my understanding. And I have been using the term lately a bit ironically because, a few years ago, everybody was in my face. Not you guys, but I have conversations with, people on social media. I'm on Twitter Spaces sometimes. And I get a lot of Bundesliga is the Farmers League and the other teams are just shit. And it's really just Bayern. And Bayern is not even that good. It's just that they're in a league with tons of other teams who are shit. And I've been fighting against that for the last, 4 years. And what I have been trying to show people is that the EPL, or the English Agricultural League, is very similar in the sense that you have a side, or two, really, Liverpool, who is just so many miles better than every other team in the league. You had City and Liverpool getting both of them almost 100 points, just a few points shy of 100 points. And you can call it whoever's fault you want. You can call it Pep's fault. You can call it the City ownership's fault. I think a lot of it started with Pep. But we have a situation where Man City are just consistently so much better and more inevitable than pretty much every other team in the league. But the Premier League basically is a super league. So the fact that we have a side like Liverpool, or we have a side like Arsenal in the last couple of years, to me, I don't think that changes the fact the rest of the teams in the league are just not as good as those one or two teams that fight it out at the top. And the same has gone in the Bundesliga for the last 11 or 12 years.
But then how can you really determine that just based off the win within their own league? Because like you say, right, that just because they win doesn't mean that the rest of the teams are that poor. Look at the margins that they won by.
That is what I have been trying to tell people when they come back at me and say the Bundesliga is a farmers league. I say to them, you can't just say that teams in Germany are shit because Bayern has won the title 11 years in a row. Bayern Munich are a super team, just like Man City. And, it's a separate point, but there is that prevailing idea that, well, a team like Brighton could go into the Bundesliga or could go into La Liga and challenge for top four or win the league. They would say in maybe the Bundesliga. And I've always told people that's absurd. That is, the actual level of teams in the English Premier League is not as high as people think. So anyway, it has been my little horse that I've been riding over the last couple of years.
I like you a lot, Christian. I like you a lot, brother, but I feel like you're a little too delusional here. Because before this season,
explain.
Bayern won the title 11 times in a row. Like, how do you compare? And if you're saying that EPL, it's the English Agricultural League, why haven't you been saying that for the past decades? Because the last decade, Chelsea was winning pretty much every year or so, or every other year. The decade before that, it was Man United. And now that City won four in a row, or it's supposed to win 4 in a row. Don't want to count you out yet, Noah. But now that City is supposed to win those 4 times in a row, now you're going to say that the EPL is a farmers league. I don't think it makes much sense considering that the Bundesliga has seen Bayern winning the title 11 times in a row in the past 12 years.
Right.
It's just not a fair comparison.
So,
you just look at the Premier League. Leicester won in 17. I mean, who would expect? I feel like everybody has a shot in the Premier League, but usually the team with a better system wins at the end of the day.
But that's the thing. I really don't think every team has a shot in the Premier League. I think that at the end of the day, we can define it how we want, but I'm trying to look at it as how it is now. I'm not going to wait until City win the next 6 titles and say, now they have 10. Now I can say the Premier League is a farmers league. I'm looking at the actual level of what is actually the state of affairs in the league. And the way I see it now, you have one team, really 2, because Arsenal, I think, are closer to that level than they are to the rest of the teams. But you have 2 teams who are just that much better than everyone else. And Arsenal are really just getting to that level in the last 2 years. City have maintained that for the last 7 or 8 years. And so that's why I think that it's important for us to look at it now and say, we basically have a super league on our hands. Just like how we could have looked at Bayern Munich from 5 years ago and said, look at the state of affairs here. They are so much better than everyone else. But what happens is, and what I fight against, is when people look at that and say, aha, the teams elsewhere other than England are actually just, they're just crap. They're just made up of a bunch of part-time footballers. And I tell people this is not the case. The teams in the EPL are not, below like City, Arsenal, Liverpool, the top four. They're not as good as people think. I think people think that a side like Brighton or a side like Wolves would go over and visit a side like Augsburg or Frankfurt or even like, the teams in Spain and just walk them because they're in the Premier League and the Premier League is this high level. And I tell people that's not what would happen. And look at the performances in Europe. It's not dominant.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but the problem that I have with the Bundesliga or even Ligue 1 is that the league remains inherently not competitive because the best players from the league only goes to one team, that being Bayern Munich and the other being Paris Saint-Germain, right? Premier League is not like that. Premier League, the best players in the league can go to any of the big six, realistically, right? Declan Rice could have gone to City. He went to Arsenal and elevated them, right? So that's where the league for me remains inherently not competitive because the best players literally only go to one team, and that's probably what led them to the dominance over the past.
But why did Declan Rice not go to City?
He wanted to stay in London, I think, mainly.
I mean, why did is that the only reason? I mean, I'm just wondering because like City, they have a guy like Rodri already. So I wonder if that also has something to do with it. Like Declan looks at the situation and says, Arsenal is on the up. Arsenal needs a player like me. I'm going to start week in, week out for Arsenal. Whereas in City, I have to rival Rodri for the place. And when you look at it, all of the big players, I mean, they go to the big clubs. Same in the Bundesliga. All the big players go to Bayern or they go to Dortmund. Dortmund actually signs a lot of young German talent, like high prospect German talent from the teams actually hate it. I think they ruin the league by doing that. But it happens everywhere. And all I ask from Premier League fans is just a little bit of introspection, just a little bit of understanding that maybe we are the farmers in a world full of farmers.
So right there, what's your definition of farmer? Clearly, then tell us how you identify who the Farmers League is. Like how do you get strength?
Like I said, I use it ironically. I use it ironically because that is what people have been saying have been going on in the Bundesliga, which is that you just have one side that is so much better than everyone else. And that is why I say the EPL is a Farmers League, because you basically have one side that is so much better than everyone else. And it seems like it will be that way for the next few years. I mean, unless something drastic happens.
But what's not ironically, what's your definition of it?
Oh, not ironically. I don't engage with it unironically. I don't think it's a serious term. A Farmers League, I think, is just a silly banter term. But, it's just a point about the banter that goes on and, not entirely.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. City have won, 7 out of the last 8. So it is what it is.
By the margins, though. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, you've had good competitors along the way. Liverpool, sure. Arsenal. But yeah, this will probably continue. Well, I shouldn't say
see how long 7 out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say 7 out of the last 8 because the final game hasn't happened yet. But most likely 7 out of the last 8. We'll probably continue until Pep leaves next year, hopefully.
But that's why I brought it up though on Sock, is because that was a point I really wanted to raise, was like just the inevitability of City. Like I think it says a lot that everyone is basically granting them the title from now, even though they haven't played West Ham.
I mean that's fair enough though. If Bayern Munich are playing Heidenheim,
No,
who have
no,
nothing to play
not into,
for,
and
right?
not as a
Yeah.
part of comparing. I'm just thinking like, just on the subject of the final day itself. I mean, I just think that's crazy. Like, to me, I almost get this feeling that, okay, we're all sort of granting it to City, but what if something crazy happened? Like what happened in 2012?
Yeah.
But Christian, it all depends on what happens in the course of the season, right? Because City, we didn't know for sure they were going to win the season, in the first few matchups, after the 10 first rounds. Actually, Tottenham was fighting for the first spot, Villa was fighting for the first spot, and then it was between Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. So we can't say that it's a guarantee that City is going to win the title, even though they are the title favorites every time that they're going to play from now on. That's for sure. We can't deny that. But I don't feel like that proves a point that the English league is looking more of a farmers league than other leagues around. Because if you compare the EPL to the Bundesliga, to Ligue 1, to La Liga, you're gonna see more competition between the top teams for that specific season. You're gonna see teams like Brighton, like you mentioned, they're gonna fight. They're gonna fight for a spot in the Champions League, in the Europa League, with those kind of clubs like Chelsea, like Man United. I feel like it's much more fair for teams for fans in general to say that the EPL is a more even league than all the other leagues around, And I feel like English leagues, they do have an edge if they're to face a similar kind of opponent from other leagues, like you're saying, Augsburg playing against Wolves, for example. I feel like those English teams, since they're used to that kind of competition in the EPL, they're gonna have the edge to play against those kind of teams from other leagues. So I see that there's more room for competition between the EPL, and other teams have more chances of getting their goals. If it's the title, if it's the Champions League, the Europa League, I feel like it's a more even league.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I only said that last point in moving on from the Farmers League discussion, that I just think that on the final day, to be honest, anything can happen. But it just feels like it's almost a little sad to me that everyone, and this is completely separate from the whole Farmers League thing. It just feels a little sad to me. No, I don't know if you feel the same way.
So
But
are you predicting that Arsenal are going to win the title?
what I'm predicting, what I predict is that City should win comfortably against West Ham.
Yeah.
And what I hope happens is that we get a little drama. I hope that, maybe West Ham makes it tough for City, and maybe the top spot maybe changes position a few times on the final day. And who knows, maybe it will go to Arsenal at the final whistle. I don't know. I hope we get a little drama though.
I think it's inherently difficult in the fact that they're a point ahead. If they were even going into the final match and only separated by goal difference, now that's just drama writing itself. Arsenal scored twice in the first 5 minutes, and now they're top. And I mean, do they know that the Arsenal scored 2 in the first 5 minutes? The fans know, so maybe can they sense it? That was what
That's
happened.
what I wanted.
Right,
I
that's what
wanted
happened.
a draw. I wanted a draw between Spurs and City so we could have that scenario, but it didn't happen.
That would have mean that Arsenal would be
City
the champions
scored.
for sure. With a 3-goal difference, I wouldn't see City scoring more than that. I just
You
feel
don't
like
think so?
I just want City to go drawing in the first half to the
Yeah.
break. I just want them to go drawing so we have more emotion towards the second half. I feel like
I
Arsenal
agree.
is not gonna have any trouble at all against Everton.
Me
But
too.
I just want City to draw in the first half so we have a lot of emotions for the second half. That would be crazy.
You
But
just
you know
know.
what?
What would break my heart would say both teams friggin' lose on the last day, bro.
You just know that's gonna happen. If City drop points, Arsenal drop
Dude.
points. You just know it.
You know what though? I don't know if I said this on the last time we were on, but I think I said it to some Arsenal fans on a space on Twitter. You are lucky that actually it wasn't a draw, just for your own mental health, because I know that before the game, Arsenal fans were probably nervous, going into the Tottenham City game. Let me tell you something. If that game ended in a draw, and I said it on TikTok, if that game ended in a draw, right now, all Arsenal fans worldwide would be experiencing the most deep psychological trauma that they're experiencing due to football in these days leading up to Sunday. I guarantee it. Being top and in control, the nervousness, bro, it just reaches you.
I mean, you've never experienced it in your adulthood, Noah, as far as I remember. No, right?
No, hell no.
It's not being top.
Brother,
Going into the final
sorry,
day, top.
it's been 20 years, bro.
No, I'm just talking about going into the final game, top of the league. That's what I'm
just in our challenge in general.
Yeah.
No, we've been in our challenge leading up, but not to final day. No.
Bro,
Yo, but
to me,
there's
that's
no
insane.
there's no biggest trauma than seeing Son lose that goal, right? No, there's no biggest trauma than
Oh,
that.
Bro,
God.
I remember.
Dog. I can't believe this guy. But anyway, yo.
Yeah. I just want to say that when I saw that, Noah, I remember of Gerard slip up against Chelsea, man. I remember that at the same time.
Man, but I think what hurts the most is that it's like I felt like you said, Christian. I feel like I'm in like fighting with my soul.
You feel like
bro.
you're in the twilight zone.
Yeah, bro, I'm fighting with my soul, dog. Like, why am I watching? I'm watching Tottenham and I'm actually jumping off my seat cheering, bro.
Yeah, bro, I was in that exact same position, except we were top last season. You know what I mean? So if y'all were top on goal difference, I guarantee you, and knowing that you have to play Everton every night, this week, you'd be waking up in cold sweats from like a nightmare. Like you'll be in your dreams and you just hear, and Calvert-Lewin, and then you wake up, oh my God, and you just, it was just a nightmare. I'm telling you that those things happen.
Those things might still happen.
Yo, but since '89, the team who walks into the last round being the leader, they haven't lost the title. So it's been
That's right.
40 some years.
That's right. And and you know who was the team? You know who was the team that did it in '89, right?
Tell us, Christian.
It was Arsenal against
and
Liverpool.
Also tell him against who?
Against Liverpool. I think it was at Anfield too. Insane. I think, what's his name? Michael Thomas or something. Arsenal legend.
Yeah, I think this guy scored like 2 goals in the dying moments of the game.
Time. It was the original Aguero moment.
Yeah, arguably better.
Yeah. So let's see. I mean, who knows? A few decades on from the last time it ever happened, and this time it involves Arsenal again. You never know. Maybe West Ham might do y'all a favor for the Declan Rice money.
Yeah, man. I definitely...
Declan Rice was the favor.
Yeah, yo, Theo, I needed to call up your boy Jared Bowen and tell him like, yo, put in 2 for us.
I'll call my boy Lucas Paquetá, bro.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. Tell him to give him a Caprina after.
They can put in 4. City can put in 8.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be more competitive than people think, because West Ham, they got trashed by Chelsea 5-0, but they have a decent side. I don't feel like it's gonna be that easy for City, man. I don't believe it.
I agree.
We just saw last night. They had troubles against Tottenham, a side which is a lot weaker than the City side. I mean, I would say that Tottenham is stronger than West Ham, but still, I feel like it's not a guarantee. It's not 100% guarantee. So I'm excited still. I'm still excited for this final matchup. I'm
quite excited. It should be a good one, and want to round off the EPL season, which has been a very, very good season. And shout out, by the way, to Aston Villa for officially qualifying for the Champions League. Incredible.
They were my dark horse side this season to make it to Champions League football, and they did.
Yeah, they actually controlled City. It was so great to see City being controlled and dominated by a side like Villa. Villa had 21 attempts and City had 2. That was insane.
And by the way, what is it about European football and Unai Emery with sides with Villa? Sevilla, Villarreal, and Aston Villa.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's all we have time for today. Guys, thanks for tuning in as always. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. Remember to subscribe, to leave comments, and share with your friends. Follow us on social media at FOTBpod. Don't forget to leave a review, rating, and most importantly, don't forget to turn on those notifications. Join us again next time as we discuss the highly anticipated upcoming Premier League action. Thanks again as always. See you then.